Hello guys. Oh, I hope now everything is working. The audio and video, please let me know if you don't see the details or if the audio is bad or whatever. Okay? So, yeah, we have our rig and our scene open, and here it is. I set it to a 2 view in Maya. I did this when I right click here on the left side and 2 panes side by side. Okay? First thing we're gonna do is, as we want to only select controllers, right? Oh, you see, I don't want to do that. I only want to select controllers. I don't want to select the geo, the meshes. Okay, so I'm gonna come here and turn everything off except for this one. This is the selection. How's it called? I don't know. This is which elements I can select or not. And this is the curve. You see? So I just wanted these on. Now I can't select anything else, any other type of element. So I can drag, I can do whatever I want. I will only select the curves, and that's very good. Okay. Second thing you want to do is, let's turn this off. This is the cache for the time slider. Let's turn it off so Maya is not too slow. Okay. Third thing we're gonna do is turn on the automatic set automatic keyframe. What else? What else? What else? Oh, okay. Let's change our time slider to 25 frames. Okay, this Maya is Maya 2022 20. Yeah, 22. So it's probably different from yours. So you will figure out how to do on your end. I'm gonna change this to 25. Okay, and you guys change this as well. And one more thing, we're going to the settings, the preferences, which is this button here, or if you want, you can go to Windows and Settings, Preferences. It's up to you. And then we're going to time slider here on the left side, and we're going to change this to the playback speed to play every frame, so it will play every frame no matter what. It's not gonna skip frames. And then we have the maximum speed, which will be 24 frames per second in our case. Okay, then save, and there we go. Okay, so we can start. This is all the Maya preparation, okay, to start. And I'm gonna create a button to select everything, so it's our animation to start. So in order to do that, we go to the script editor. It's up to you if you want to go to the button here on the corner. Mine is deactivated, so it's not visible. So I have to go, sorry, so I have to go here in Windows, General Editors, Script Editor. Okay. Now that it's open, on the top window, on the top box, we're gonna see what's happening in Maya. So everything you do a command or whatever in Maya, something will be listed here, and we can remove this. It's not a problem. And here it's the area that you can use it, that we can use it. So I'm gonna hit this button to clean everything. Oh, it's echoing all the history. Let's turn this off. Okay, echo all commands. If you have this on, let's turn this off. I'm gonna clean again. Okay, so I'm put the script editor on the side for a minute, and then I'm going to select everything by dragging the mouse, by clicking and holding and dragging. Okay, now everything is selected. I will also control click select this, the top node, or this controller on the ground, this big one. It was already selected actually. I am shift control clicking on it to select again but it will select by last. Why that? So I can see the properties of this here on the right side. Okay, so I still have everything selected, but as this was selected by last, I can see everything here, and this may be useful if I need to change anything here, and if I need to select all the controllers and change anything here, or set everything here to 0. Anyway, so you could do that when you create your button. It could be really useful if you need. So okay, back to script editor, and we have everything in the top box. Everything we did is here as a script. Okay, it is scripting all the commands we did, and as we select a lot of stuff, so all the selections are here. Okay, so I'm going to select everything. I'm going to Control C to copy. I'm going to click on the bottom box, and then I'm going to Control V to paste. Okay, now that it's here, here is like our area, our sandbox, where we can write stuff, write scripts, and save to our shelf. I'm sorry if I'm explaining or telling stuff that you guys already know, but it's just well, you know, if someone doesn't know, or if you don't know any detail or how it works, anyway, I hope I can help. Now that it's here, oh, and just make sure Mel tab is selected, because this is a Mel script. This is Mel in Python, where types are different languages of scripting, of programming. Okay, so this is a Mel one. After I paste here, I'm going to select the custom shelf, because we're going to add our button to this shelf, and then we're going to file and save script to shelf. Okay, then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to just select write down cell dot all. I hope it fits. It did. Okay, cool. So now we can click anywhere to deselect everything, and then when I click on the button, it selects all the rig. All good? And okay, so let's start our walking cycle. Okay, so okay, let's go. First thing I'm gonna do is select this top controller, and you don't have to do that, but I like this. When you have something selected, you can hit Q in your keyboard to go to the selection option, or you can hit W to go to the move option, which is this one, or you can hit E to go to rotation option, which is this one. Okay. Oh, another thing you can do is if you hit minus or plus, you're gonna do this. So this the way I use, you see, it's a lot larger than usually people do. I do this because I don't know, sometimes I want to rotate something and I want to see better you know, the fraction of the rotation. So it's up to you. Okay, so I'm gonna rotate this in Y 180 degrees. I just like him walking to the other side. Okay, so let's go, and we're gonna start by the first basic pose, the first key pose, first strong pose. Okay, so I'm going to frame it 1, and then we're going to start this pose. We already did this in class, so I'm not going to take too long here to prepare this. Okay, so let's do it. Oh, first of all, just to make sure, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to make sure I'm on frame 1 and hit S on my keyboard, so everything is keyed. Okay, I could have used my button as well. I don't know what I didn't, but anyway. So let's make our pose. We're going to bring this foot to the front. I'm going to bring this foot behind. I'm going to bring it down the hip a little bit. The hip, we usually don't move it on X or Z. We just move it up and down. Okay, this is not a rule, but we usually want to keep the guy in the same place. So okay, let's keep working on this. Um, moving the foot, rotating. This foot, if you guys remember, I used the row attribute here. Let's set it to what, 7? I think this one goes up to 10. Anyway, let's set to 7 and move the foot back. Let me see one thing. No, it's right here. Okay, so I'm gonna bring a little bit more down. I think it's too much. This time, like I was really quick and on class and not looking to details. This time I'm gonna look a little bit more, okay? So you guys, because now you guys can watch and pause and do whatever you want. So yeah, we started by the legs doing this, and then we're going to frame 13. Why frame 13? Again, we want the same pose in frame 1 and frame 25, right? Frame 13 is the frame in the middle. So frame 13 is the one that we're gonna mirror our pose, because when we do a walk cycle, I don't know if you guys remember when I did in class, it's like 2 steps where we have a first pose and then we have a mirrored pose and then we're back to original pose. Okay, so yeah, let's select the 2 foot. Let's go to 25, hit S again, so we make sure we have this pose of the legs here. We call it bake it. Every time I say bake it, it's like we know the pose is there. Okay, the pose is keyed. It has all the keys and it's there, and unless you go there and change, nothing else is gonna change it. Okay, so and then we go to frame 13. As we have the same pose in frame 1 and frame 25, I can scrub the time slider as I want and nothing's gonna change. Okay, so I'm going to frame 13 now, and I'm gonna hit S again to bake the pose, but I'm gonna change this pose. So I will first select both feet, and let me select again both feet, and set everything here to 0, including the row. And then I'm gonna make the opposite pose. I am doing this opposite pose for now eyeballing. What I mean is, I don't know if the foot, the mirrored foot, is here or here or here, so maybe there will be a little difference, but we don't have to worry about this right now, for 2 reasons. First, we are seeing the fundamentals of walking cycle, so we don't have to be that technical and accurate. And second, actually, if there is a little difference, it could be good at the end, because we are not robots, you know, we are not walking on a 100% symmetric way. Okay, let me just check one thing. I'm gonna set this to this row to 6 instead. Yeah, so I'm setting this to 6 as well, and I'm setting this to 6. Cool. Okay, so let's get back to framing 1, and now we are going to the hip rotation. We are gonna rotate just a little bit, because we don't walk doing something like this. We do a little bit, but not too much. Sometimes there are differences between, for example, male and female, child or adult or whatever. So it's kind of up to you how much you're gonna rotate, and actually everything, the intensity of everything, it's up to you how much you're gonna do, and you have to kind of pay attention how a character would do, the type of character you're animating, how they would do in real life, right? In this case, we are doing a man, and it's kind of maybe the simplest one, because there is not so many movements or different movements anyway. So Rotating minus, let's do it minus 6 and Y. And then I'm gonna hit S in frame 25 to keep the pose, to bake it. And then I'm going to 13. I'm gonna hit S again and set this to 6 to rotate to the other side. So we have something, there is a rotation, but it's very, very subtle. Okay, and let's keep going. So back to frame 1, when we are walking, we usually do in opposite ways our legs and arms, which means our spine, this controller, this yellow controller here, the spine will also rotate, it will rotate the same way, the same direction with the arms, okay? So we're gonna do something like this. So the blue arm, or his right arm, will be going forward, same as the red leg, the opposite leg, the left leg, okay? So, okay, let's do this rotation, not so much again. And we're going to the arm as well. You can use the rotation in Z, which is the blue arc of the well, this one. I don't know what the name of this manipulator, I guess. Anyway, so we're gonna bring the arm to the front. You can bring it the arm. You can bring a little bit of the elbow. You can bring a little bit of the wrist. I'm gonna do this with the wrist, and then I'll explain why. Okay, so I'm gonna select the 3 of them just to make sure I'm hitting S and keying all of them. Just so you know, here goes another tip. I, for example, selected this foot here. If I want to select another thing, I usually hold shift and then I select it. And I keep doing like shift and select, okay? But when I hold shift, I can add or remove elements of my selection. Like I have the 3 of them. If I continue holding shift and I click on selected controller, sorry, let me go again. So I have the foot, I have this, and I have, let me grab a different one, the other foot. So if I hold shift and I select a selected controller, there it is. It will unselect. That time it wasn't working because it's parent and child, so you cannot actually see what's happening. But just so you guys know, when you hold shift, you can add or remove controllers to your group of selections. If you hold Control Shift, you're gonna add a controller, but you can't remove it. It will add all the time. You know, you can't remove any. The color is changing, like green to white, but both green and white are selections made. So you cannot remove if you hold the shift and control. Why that? Let's say I made a selection this way. I drag it and select those things. Everything is in white because some controllers are parent and some controllers are child. And when you select a parent, the child, it turns into white again. But none of this is selected. Only like this controller and all the other ones below. And what happens here and now? Let's say I want to select those controllers as well. I would drag, right? I will drag and select them. But if I hold shift and drag this way, what can happen? I will select all the not selected controllers, and I will deselect the already selected controllers. Remember that holding shift will add or remove controllers, so the controllers that are not added, they will be, and the controllers that are already selected, they will be removed. Okay, we cannot see this because of this parent and child thing, but it's very easy and fast if you just consider Control and Shift as your standard uh, like selection to add stuff. So all the time I want to select more stuff, I hold the Control Shift instead of Shift only, and I can do this as many times as I want, because it's gonna add everything that is being dragged over. Okay, and to remove, if you only want to remove, you don't want to add at all, you just hold Control. So if you hold Control and drag over stuff, you are removing stuff of your selection. Okay, there you go. Now you can see. So I hold Control, I can click over it to remove. Let me remove a different thing. Okay, there you go. I can click over it, I can drag over it, it doesn't matter. Control will remove. So if you want to add stuff, add controllers, shifting Control. If you want to remove controllers, only Control. All good? So let's keep going. I did this arm, and then I'm going to do the other arm, the red one. So removing, rotating. You want to rotate this, kind of stretch, and then this, just a little bit. Okay. On the front side, you know what? I'm going to rotate this a little bit this way. I feel like the arm is too open. We don't rotate the elbow in this direction too much, just a little bit, because we actually can't do that, right? And the front arm, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna rotate. The front arm, sometimes when we are opposed like this in our walking cycle, we bring you can rotate the arm in a way that we bring the hand a little bit to the front of the body, so it is in front of the body. This is normal. We do this sometimes. It's natural, but we don't do things like, rotating the arm behind. This is unnatural. But let's keep going. So what I did here, arms, so I'm going to select all the arm controllers from both sides, and spine. That's all we did. Then I'm gonna hit S just to make sure it's big. I'm going to 25 to hit S. Then I'm going to 13. I'm gonna hit S again just to key them, but I'm gonna change them, right? So spine, rotating on the other direction. Then arms. Let's make that pose. And there it is. Feel free to move the poses as you want. I mean, don't try to do anything different, like walking with this style, or walking and dancing, or anything crazy. Just go for a regular walk for this first assignment, okay? So we can do the basic, and then I of course will let you know if you want to do a fancy walking in a different situation. Of course, I'm gonna help you guys to do that, but for this first one, let's go basic, okay? So yeah, I think everything is here. So everything is very basic, but it's a very good start. I'm gonna hit Alt 1 now, so I can hide all the controllers, and then let's hit play and see what happens. Oops. It's not bad. I mean, I said oops because the hip's not going up and down. It should go, but actually we have to make the middle pose. We didn't do it yet. Okay, all good so far? I believe you guys have the same thing that I have. So let's get going. Then we go to frame 7, which is the middle of 1 and 13. Okay, I'm gonna select everything again. Oh, just making sure. I'm gonna select everything, hit S in frame 1, hit S in frame 13, hit S in frame 25. So I have the pose baked, the key pose. This is a key pose where everything is keyed and it doesn't change. I mean, I can do whatever I want, change whatever I want in frames in between, but here it's gonna be like this. Okay, so I go to frame 7, I'm gonna hit S again to key everything, and then we're gonna create another key pose, which here will be kind of an in-between pose. Anyway, it doesn't matter the name, but let's keep going. I'm hitting Alt 1 again to turn all the controllers on, and then let's keep going. So just let me know when I select the foot. Okay, so this foot was here behind, so it's going forward now. So in this pose, this foot, selected foot, is going forward, and when a foot is going forward, it's kind of rotated this way. Row is set to 0. Okay, so we're gonna rotate it a bit more, and then we're gonna move up. It's the foot that is in the air. Okay, and the other foot, on the other hand, it's rotated as 0 as well, so it's on the ground, and row is set to 0 as well, so it's totally on the ground. This is what we do in the pose in between. And I'm gonna move up a little bit the hip, so this leg is kind of straight, not 100%. We never make straight like 100% like this, and I'll tell you why later. But anyway, you can make something like this. Okay, and then it will be good. When we walk, we don't walk like this with legs spread from each other that much. We're gonna adjust that in the future, but anyway, we don't walk with the hip on a line like this. When we are walking, usually our hip goes over the, this line. This is our how can I say, our contact with the ground, and this is our COG, center of gravity. Usually it's on a line, one over another. We don't actually go on a line when we are walking, because there's no time for that. It's not natural, but we have to move a little bit to the side to make something like this. Okay, now that we have the legs in 7, we're going to 20, yeah, and then I'm gonna select everything. I'm gonna hit S and 7 again to keep the pose, and then we're going to actually it's 19. Let me see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and I go to 13. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, yeah, there we go, 19. And then we're gonna have the opposite pose. Okay, so this foot now, it's going back, so I'm gonna remove the row, and I'm gonna remove this rotation max. It's completely on the ground. And for this foot, I'm gonna remove the row, set to 0. I'm gonna rotate in the other direction, and I'm gonna bring up, because you usually do this, and the hip will go up again in a way that leg, the blue leg now, the right leg, is almost straight but not totally straight. Okay, and let's see what happens. Oh, way better, right? Let me play this. Definitely better. Oh, I have to adjust the hip here. So in 19, I'm gonna bring the hip in the other way. Let's see if it's going too much. Not too much. Actually, it's going too much, but because the legs are too separate, my opinion. Okay, we're gonna adjust this later. But anyway, it makes more sense in a way that um, the hip goes over the leg that is making the effort. Okay, cool. So let's keep going. Now we're going to start adding some details as I did in class. We're gonna add starting first what the foot actually do, and then I'm going all the way to fix the foot, and we're gonna also do this for the arms. Okay, so first the foot. So let's start in frame 1 by the red foot because we want it to make a full cycle. Usually we have this pose for the foot in this moment, and it's correct, but we usually take 2 or 3 frames. Let's try 3 frames, and then we have a pose where our foot is not like this anymore actually. So I'm gonna select the foot, I'm gonna hit S to bake this, and I'm gonna change this rotation to 0. Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, okay, let's see what happens in the whole cycle. And then what is happening? We have the foot going backwards, going up to this point, and then from this key to the other key, it starts to do the row thing, right? This row where we have this bending on the foot. We're gonna live as this for now. It feels good. Okay. So after the row, we don't do something like this. This is not natural. We don't go from this pose straight to, let me bring this here. I turn the grid off. I don't know, I don't like it too much. I turn on only when I need. Like this is good for a ground plane, but yeah. So from this pose here, we usually don't go straight to this pose. We usually do something like this. I'm going 2 frames, like frame 15. I'm gonna hit S to key everything. I'm gonna remove the row, do something like this. Some people like to add a total row here. It would be something like this. It's not wrong, you know, doing something like this. It's a lot. Let me try 9. Let's see what happens. Yeah. You could do that. Let me set this rotation to 0, and let's set translate Y, which is how high it is, to 0 as well. So doing something like this, you see, pose 13, then in between 15. This is not wrong at all. And then it goes to this pose. But what happened here is this is different from rig to rig. I kind of don't like the bending at this moment. I like something more like removing the row and rotating it. I like something like this. I think it's more natural. It's more like we do. Okay. Sometimes even more. So I think this is more what we do. You could try this. Even because this is a bit more complex and hard to do. But anyway, this is more natural. We usually do this in the industry. The thing with this is we have to, okay, 15, everything is keyed. So we have to check what's gonna happen on 14. Okay, in 14, the row is usually in middle ground between 13 and 15, as it should, and the rotation as well. So we have to know what's happening here in 14 to make those adjustments. What we can do is I'm gonna hit S again so we can keep this. We can move up and maybe a little bit back. Let me see what happens. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, we're gonna see this more in the future, more adjustments after we watch a little bit more. Okay, let me bring this up a little bit. Okay, so right foot or left foot, it's kind of almost there. I mean, it's there, but we're gonna need to make adjustments as we do the rest of it. Okay, and let's go for the blue foot. Do the same thing. So blue foot is here at the end, doing that same pose. We go 2 frames later. We hit S to bake this pose. We're gonna set row to 0. We're gonna rotate more this. Not too much, but definitely a lot more than it was before. Then we're gonna do something like this. Then we go to frame 2. That we have to move up and back in order to adjust the pose. Okay, so there you go. And let's see how it's going. Alt 1 to hide all the controllers, and let's hit play. Yeah, not bad. It's getting natural. One thing that you guys can do when you watch, when you play, hit play, you can change this to go to 1 to 24. Why that? Because remember that frame 25 is exactly the same as frame 1. So when you watch this and it is on a loop, excuse me, so animation is on a loop, right? So when you watch this, as frame 25 and frame 1 are the same, it's like our animation has 2 equal frames one after another. So to better watch this, it's cool to change this to 24, only to play it, okay? There you go. It's definitely more fluid, more natural, it's smoother. Okay? So let's keep going. We're gonna do a similar thing, Alt 1 to turn on controllers. We're gonna do a similar thing for the arms. So when we have an FK situation like this, 3 controllers, shoulder, elbow, and wrist, this is a very good example, but this can happen in a lot of different situations, like a tail. This could happen with the legs if the legs are hanging somehow. Imagine that this is a chain, like a rope or something that the things will not move in the same way. I mean, our arm doesn't move like this. This is like a robot, right? This is like animation that a kid will do. Our arm has different timing for the movements of the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist, and you can call this overlap. When we change the timing from one to another, this is called overlap. What this means? It means that this would be the maximum pose, the extreme pose that the arm goes forward, right? But not all the elements are bending at the same time. This is kind of the extreme for the shoulder only. The extreme of the elbow, because of the overlap, will happen like 2 frames before. So it would happen in frame number 3. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna select the elbow, go to frame 3. I hit S to create a key over there. Oh, sorry, let me select only the elbow. And then I'm gonna rotate something like this. Okay, so the extreme rotation of the elbow, it's a little bit later than the shoulder. This is the shoulder, 2 frames later is the elbow. And this will create a nice overlap animation when we watch this, okay? The same thing will happen to the elbow on the this pose. I mean, the elbow will not get straight at the same time that the shoulder. It will happen something later. It will happen, so if this is 13, it will happen on 15, let's say this way. And how can we do this? We could do this in the other one as well, but here we could only, if you want, move. So I hold shift, I click on over the frame 13, and then I can only move this because we already have the straight pose, right? This pose is here. And pose 19 and pose 7 are intermediate poses. We could actually remove them, so the movement will be more natural. Let me use this situation to open graph editor and use the graph editor as we should as animator. So one thing you can do, this is another thing you could do at the beginning. It's not a big problem right now, but anyway, you can change this from modeling to animation. But you're gonna have more options, different options in the top menu. This is what usually happens. We're not gonna using them for now because a walking cycle is really simple. But anyway, to open the graph editor, we go to Windows, Animation Editors, and then Graph Editor. Okay, the graph editor will show what's happening with the translations and rotations. Yours graph editor is probably in a way like this when you have the arm selected. If you have another thing selected, it will change the attributes here. Why this? Because those attributes are a mirror of those ones. Okay? So it's different. There's different attributes enabled to every controller you select. Okay, so I had the elbow selected. We had the pose in 1. We had the pose in 3 where it bends a little bit more, and you can see this here. You remember the graph editor? Graph editor is time in the horizontal direction versus amount of what's going on. Like the amount of rotate Z. I know this is rotate Z because it's blue here and it's blue here. If you want to make sure, you can select rotate Z here, and you will only see the rotate Z curve. Some Mayas you can only select it here. If you select rotate Z here, you will only have the curve for rotation in Z being shown. That's why I hide mine here like this, because if I want to see something, I select here on the channel box. Okay, so the extreme pose is in 3, and then we actually went to 13 but moved the key to 15 for the other extreme pose, right? More straight. And then this you can see here. You see the first extreme pose is in frame 3. Here are the frame numbers 2 and 4, of course 3 in the middle, and then the other extreme pose, it's here. So this blue curve shows us something, right? It shows us what's happening with the rotation. It's rotating a lot in the direction, and then it starts rotating in another direction, the extremes, and then it goes back to the origin. This is the origin point, which is the same as this, same height. Okay, and then what we can do here that I was saying, if you go to frame 7, we have the middle pose that we did, but you see how this key is kind of changing the curve. The curve is not as smooth as it could because of this key. So what we can do, we have two options. We can move to a place to have a better curve, and this would be also a better curve, or we can just remove them in 2 ways. By selecting here if we want and hitting delete, or as I'm gonna do in frame 19, who's also kind of bothering the curve, I go here over the time slider, right click and delete. Okay, now can you see we have a way more smoother curve. It's a different way of working. Okay, so let's do this for the other arm. I'm gonna minimize our graph editor for now. I'm gonna select the elbow, the other arm. This is the opposite. This is it should be the straight pose here. And what can I do now? I mean, these pose for the elbow that is in frame 1, I should have it in 3, right? So I'm going to frame number 3. I'm gonna hit S, and let me go back to the graph editor so we can see. Remember that we should have the extreme pose in number 3. If we see the graph editor, the extreme pose is in here. It's lower than here, right? So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select this and move up. You can eyeball this, it's not a problem. And then we're going to select this. We're gonna shift control select this, and then I'm gonna hold shift and move up. So I'm moving the two of them, and I know first and last pose will keep the same. Oh, by the way, when I move this, just so you guys know, I'm gonna select again. To move, you hold shift and you use the middle button. It's the wheel of your mouse. You click the wheel and you move up and down. Okay? And then I'm gonna go back to this. Sorry for not explaining in the first moment. And then I'm gonna do the same. So, oh, sorry. First, let's create the other one. So when it goes forward, the elbow, the extreme pose is in frame 13, but I want it in frame 15. Why in this case I'm not moving? Because actually in frame 15, I wanted to rotate a little bit more than this. I can go back and remove the pose in 13, it's not a problem. This one actually only from rotate Z. I'm not removing this one, otherwise it will do something like this, right? If I remove this, well, you see. Select, delete, then you go. My graph editor is a bit different because I talked about this in class, I guess. I don't remember if I told everyone or just a few people, but you have different views in your graph editor. Views style. What this means, if you go to absolute view, you're gonna have a graph editor like this. So you have the scale here, the amount you're moving here. You can see the times, you can see the time, and you can see what's happening with the scale here, like how many degrees it's changing in the rotation. And the curves will have the scale they should have. If you change the view to stacked view, we're gonna have all the curves one over another, respecting the scale. Yet it's still respecting. And I like this one, normalized view. So when I hit S, the curves will, sorry, when I hit F, the curves will use all the area. So it doesn't matter the scale, the curves will do like, let me hit Z. Okay, so you see the red curve, it's using all it can use on a vertical area. Same thing for the blue one. So it's, I don't know, if you need to move a key up and down, I think this is the best way because you have all of this space to move, and this helps a lot. Okay, so I'm gonna clean everything I don't need. And that's it. Nice and smooth curves. Okay, I am going beyond with this graph editor thing with you guys. I believe in you guys, and I believe you guys will understand what happens with this graph editor. It's not a rule, it's not mandatory, but the less keys you have, the smoother will be the animation, right? Because when you have too many keys, the curve or the movements will kind of make a zigzag or something that is not natural or smooth. When you have no keys in a part, Maya will do the work for you, and Maya does the work really in a really smooth way. So I believe the more you clean, like we can remove this one as well, the more you clean, the better Maya will do everything. Again, it's not mandatory. You can create as many keys as you want. If you need to create like keys for every single frame, sometimes it happens. I am on the VFX industry. Sometimes we have to animate parts of creatures that are different in every single frame, or have sometimes they have to match something from the plate, and the plate would be the film, the footage. So let's say we have an actor and a CG creature holding the actor neck or arm or whatever. So we have to match the hand of the CG creature to the arm of the actor, and yeah, we're gonna need keys for every frame. But anyway, if you can, again, it's not mandatory, but if you can, remove the keys that you don't need, and you'll be a very, very nice curve. Okay, this is something that again you guys are gonna learn with time and make it better um, while you are doing the the animations, every kind of different type of animation. Okay, so yeah, I cleaned a little bit of the elbow. Let me see this one, how it's going. Yeah, cool. So let's work with the wrist now. For the wrist, it's the same thing, but the elbow will be the reference. So let's select the red wrist again. Here it's in the maximum pose, but the elbow maximum pose it's happening frame 3. So I want the wrist maximum pose to happen one frame after the elbow, not two, because it would be too slow. The wrist is this distance of this size of the hand is small, and this is kind of the method we do to know how fast it happens. So at frame 4 we're gonna have our maximum pose. Okay, so we can kind of copy this. I just right click it over copy, and then we can go to frame 4, right click, and do a double paste. Don't ask me why. Paste. Okay, so this is what is gonna happen. Oops, this is what's gonna happen. But for frame 1 it's extreme again. With frame 4 we don't want this. I'm gonna show you then what we're gonna do. Okay, so frame 4 is the extreme when the hand is going, when the arm is going back. Excuse me. And then at frame 13 we have the maximum to the front, but again the max pose for the elbow is 15, and the max pose for the hand would be one frame after, so 16. So at frame 16 I want the hand to rotate a little bit more. Okay, something like this. And there we go. Now let's clean our graph editor. So this is the extreme pose that we put it before. This all could be gone. And pose 13, it's pose 16. Oh, pose 16 is the extreme one that we want. So pose 13 we can remove it and let Maya work with this. So we keep pose 16, which is the extreme pose we want, and pose 19 we can again remove it. Cool. So there you go. I'm gonna play and you guys are gonna see what's gonna happen. Oh, but anyway, here again, here we have extreme pose and here we have an extreme pose, but we don't want extreme pose in 2 frames, right? The correct one should be frame 4. So what do we do? At frame 1 we should have a pose that is before this extreme pose. So it should do something like this, correct? So not the extreme pose yet, like we have here. What we can do is, let me undo this, we can select a pose like 23, right? Which is to 2 frames before 25, which is an extreme pose as well. And we can copy, and then we can go to pose 1 and paste, paste. Oops, sorry, I had a key selected. Let's do it again. So frame 23, right click copy, frame 1, right click paste, paste. Why it's not happening? Let me check here. Let me key 23 before, copy, paste, paste. Oh, okay, that's weird. Anyway, I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna hit auto here to make it auto frame. Cool. So let's go change this to 25 again so we can see the last frame. As the last frame should be equal to the first, and we just fixed the first, so we're gonna do the same here. Right click copy, and then we go to 25 now. Paste, paste. Cool. And we can remove this one. And okay, here and here, all good. Here and here, all good. So it should be good. And let's do the same for the white, the blue hand. So this would be the maximum in front. So we go to frame 3 and we're gonna rotate a little bit more. I'm gonna exaggerate it a little bit more. I think this is too much. Let me go back again. Shift middle button click and drag, and yeah, and then we go to frame 13. Oh, actually this should be frame 4, not frame 3. Cool. Then you go to frame 13 because frame 3 is the maximum for the elbow. Frame 13, frame 15 is the maximum for the elbow. We go to frame 16. And then again, as we are here in the middle, we can shift click this frame and move from 13 to 16. Okay? And if you want to move a little bit more, it's up to you. And then we're going to remove the in-betweens. So I'm going to delete this. I like removing in the graph editor and not here. Remember that I said right click delete. I like removing them on the graph editor kind of because of course I can see more clear like what I have to clean or not. Okay, so there you go. Let's see what happens if I hit play. I'm gonna just move this to 24 and hit play. Okay, a way more natural. We're getting there. Arms have like a swing, right? A way more natural than before. One thing that we wanna make now is fixing this foot and hip thing that is going too much side to side. Let's do this before we, yeah, this is too much. So how do we fix this? It's kind of simple. We're gonna use the graph editor. We're gonna select the foot like this. I selected the red foot, and then here in the graph editor we have to find out if the moving inside is which one of the translate it would be. There's two ways to do this. First way would be, let me select this to isolate X. One of the ways would be moving the curve. It looks like it's this one. Let me see. And Y? Yeah, Y is up and down. And then Z. Z is back and forth. I knew it was X because of the second method, which is a way faster. And I don't know if you guys notice, if you select an object, you're gonna have those arrows, and those arrows have colors. Okay, green, red, and this is actually blue. It's yellow because it's selected. Like if I select the green one, this one turns blue again. So this is what we want. So if you want to move the foot inwards, we should go for the red one. And red one is the X one, right? Translate X. So now that we know that, we can select translate X. We're gonna have a flat curve because we didn't move the foot at all. But we can go to any keyframe and move as we think. I'm using this line of the you see it's kind of thicker, the line of the grid. I'm using it as a reference. So we kind of bring it closer to the line, and if we go to the graph editor, let me hit F. There you go. So we can move the other keys to be in the same line. So what we did here, let me do this slowly and bringing you guys together. What we're doing here is I will do this for the blue foot. I'm selecting this. I'm going frame, let's say 7, when the foot is in the middle of the way, going forward, and I wanted to move inwards. So again, I'm gonna select X, the X arrow, and I'm gonna move to where I want, where I feel it should be, right? So, and then I'm gonna select the translate X, either here or here, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna see what's happening only with the translate X curve. What happening is all the key poses have no change for translate X. It was always, the foot was always this close, kind of this close to the other foot or the middle of the grid. So when we move it here, we are only changing the translate X for one frame. So this is happening. And what I do is when I select the keys on a horizontal way, I'm selecting the translate X of every pose, right? But only the translate X. And I'm moving all of them to be the same as this one. So the poses of the other frames will be the same except for translate X. And what is translate S? It's this distance from the middle of the grid. So that's what we did. That's how we used the graph editor to move only the translate X, but from all keyframes. It saves a lot of time. If you don't understand this, please let me know, and then we can talk more about the graph editor in the future. Okay? I know it's complicated in the first moment. I know it's kind of a how can I say, not too much visual. I mean, sometimes you deal with graph editor and you don't see what's happening in the animation, but please let me know, and I can explain you 1,000 times or more if you guys need. Okay, it's very useful to use the graph editor, especially for those who want to be an animator. You're gonna work a lot with the graph editor. Cool. So yeah, let's keep going. What I did was bringing the feet together a little bit more, which makes our character to move less the hip, or otherwise it will be kind of ridiculous too much. Yeah, so we're gonna select the hip again, the main controller. Sometimes we call this the COG, the cog, center of gravity. And then we're gonna move less from one side to another side. You see how it's kind of unbalanced now? It's not unbalanced. Actually, females move a little bit more this way. I mean, on a general way, right? I'm not being anyway. So when you want a movement more in a female on a traditional way, we exaggerate a little bit more, something like this. But we don't want our guy to do this. We just want a regular male boring walking. Okay, so for this we're gonna actually fix using the graph editor again, and which arrow I want to move, which translate I want to change. Again, the red one, I want to make it go last from one side to another side. So frame 1, frame 13, and frame 25, let me show again the 25, frame 25 are in the middle. So he is in the middle between left and right side. So I want to go to frame 7 and break it down, this key, in a way that you look more natural, which is probably, let's keep it here. Then we go to 19 and move in a way that the curve will be smoother, right? Probably something like here maybe, yeah. And then I can just remove this key. Cool. So it will be a lot more how's it called, subtle? Yeah, and that's it. One thing for the hip as well, this is not mandatory, but sometimes it helps, is the hip is going up and down. You guys remember that? If you select translate Y, which is up and down, it's usually, you can consider translate Y is the most singular of the translates, because it's always up and down. Sometimes we mix the Z and the X, because it's one is forward, the other is to the side, but translate Y, there's no way to mix with anything. It's up and down. Okay. Sometimes animation supervisors like to select the keys when it's going down, like this one, and change the tangents. Tangents are those small white arrows, and change this to this option here, linear tangents. So if we click on it, you see it creates like a bounce, right? Like the bouncing ball. So some animation supervisors and some situations will require that you make a bouncing of the hip, just like the bouncing ball. Fernando, would say it depends on the character, right? It depends on what you're animating. If you're animating an elephant, you would never do this. If you're animating a giant like Godzilla, you never do this. If you're animating a squirrel, maybe you do this, and maybe you do this again up here, because a squirrel would be really fast and snappy, right? So let's do this way for this guy, as a human character could do this, and yeah. Cool. Okay, so now to finish everything we're doing for this class, I can give you more tips for the next class, but for this class we're gonna finish with the fingers. Okay, so the fingers are kind of easy to deal with. We don't see too much of them, but anyway, let's start by creating let me go to first pose actually. Let's start by creating a neutral pose. You can see your hand if you want to see a neutral pose. This is kind of, it's not too bad, but it's not like a neutral like we want. Okay, so we're gonna rotate the thumb a little bit inwards. We're gonna rotate a little bit more down. You can again shift control click all of them, and then you hit rotate, and then you can rotate all of them at the same time. Okay, so yeah, let's go this, let's go and make this. So this would be what, pinky, right? And then we could do the same for the ring finger. And then we can do middle finger. And then index or pointing or whatever finger. Let's be fancy and bring things a little bit together. Okay. I mean, you don't have to, but it's what we usually do. And there you go. Cool. So I will select all the fingers, all the controllers for the fingers. There you go. Then I'm gonna hit S to key. Then I go to the hand was, the wrist was on frame 4. I'm gonna make the same for, let me open a graph editor. Actually, I'm gonna shift click and drag here and remove all the keys. So now I'm going to frame 4, which is the same as the wrist. I'm gonna hit S and then I'm gonna hit E and rotate them a little bit more to close them. Okay, but not so much. After this, we want this same pose on frame. This is the shoulder, this is the elbow, this is the hand, frame 16. So we're going to frame 16 and we hit S again, and then we want the same for no, it's just the two of them. Yeah, so we want this pose 1 also in 13. So I'm going to copy, then I'm gonna hit S, paste, and then I'm going to frame 25, hit S, paste, and let's see what happens. I hope it's working. Yeah, it's a bit exaggerated, and we're gonna adjust this in the future, but yeah, that's it. Cool. Let's do this for the other hand now, and then I'm gonna make a new video for the next class. Cool. Let's fix the other hand. Okay, so now I have the same pose for frame 1 and frame 25. And what am I going to do? I'm going to find the extreme pose of the wrist, which would be frame 4, and then I will rotate inwards a little bit, and then we would have the same neutral pose in 13, right? Yes. And then the other extreme pose, frame 4, so 14, 15, 16. I go copy, and then hit S, and then paste. And yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna leave this for you guys to take a look, and then the next class, and I'm gonna record a video for that as well, not right now, but in the next few days, we're gonna start doing adjustments. Okay, so because the walking cycle is here, the basic of the walking cycle is here, you're gonna make adjustments like small stuff that happen with the body, and even with controllers that we already animated. There are fixes as well. You guys can see there's a pop on the knees. We're gonna remove those pops. We're gonna make some adjustments on timing. We're gonna add some animation to the head. The head is too stiff. And yeah, that's it. But here we are with our first walking cycle. Cool, right? So yeah, I'm gonna upload this now, and then see you guys. Talk to you guys later.